How would you advise young entrepreneurs to source out capital for their business?
The problem we get to a lot of people in Nigeria is they don't understand how to develop the business. But they only understand, okay, we have developed everything, we are ready to build this thing, and then we need money to build it.
The important lesson you learned that has helped you in life.
The important lesson, which in the beginning took a long time for me to learn and to accept, is
in your business career, what do you find most rewarding?
succeeding. You're going to encounter a lot of problems from everywhere. You have to first suffer with the business.
So for someone who is just into business or who wants to start business, how would you advise the person to go about his business?
Business environment here is not what you read in school or textbooks.
What advice would you give anyone not just in business to carry on in his life?
Integrity.
Integrity.
The reason why we're poor is...
Why did you choose to do business instead of politics, considering that your father was one of the great politicians Nigeria had?
I think sometimes you have to look at what your talents are. I know a lot of people are always quick to rush into politics.
What's your take on Nigerian politics?
Subsidizing consumption is a very, very bad economic policy. And I think President Tinubu is very brave to actually remove this thing, even though he mismanaged it a bit. But no president before him has even dared to take this correct step.
What is the important lesson you learned from your father?
I learned from my father that it's always best that you're humble and don't go over what you can do or cannot do.
Okay, yes. Good afternoon, sir.
Fine, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How is work? How's everything?
We thank God, alhamdulillah.
Yes. We're really excited to have you here for this podcast, and we're thrilled to have you because you're someone who people really like to listen to, as you've done really well in your business career, and I'm so happy to talk to you.
Okay, I'm happy to give you this interview as well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I think the first question we'll start with, how did you start your career journey? Can you take us through from how you started to right now?
Okay, I went to school in England, so I came back to Nigeria after finishing my studies around 2009. So when I came back to Nigeria, the first place I worked at, we have a factory in Sharaɗa called Nostar Industries. So we produce doors and furniture. So that's where I started my business journey.
That's very interesting. So why did you choose to do business instead of politics, considering that your father was one of the great politicians Nigeria had?
Yeah, my father was also a businessman in the beginning, then later, well, he was always in politics and business. So I think sometimes you have to look at what your talents are. I know a lot of people are always quick to rush into politics, but I see politics as a great responsibility. I have a lot of people I consider my older brothers that are into politics. One of them, usually when you go to him for advice, you want to enter politics, he always asks you, what is your reason for entering politics? So, and for me, the reason I see that one might enter politics is to, bring about improvements in the lives of people around you and people in your state, etc. So if that's the reason for me to consider entering politics, then is that the best way for me to, help people? Is it through politics, or is it through business and through my personal capacity or helping the way I can? So I reason that it will be easier, to help and impact society from a business standpoint instead of a more political standpoint.
Yeah, that's true, because I also realized that as a business, also contributing to the country's GDP and also creating employment and so forth, as politics is not the only way to help the nation.
Yes, exactly. And also sometimes, when you enter politics, you also look at, who are the people there that are into politics, especially in your constituency. Can you do better than them or not? So, a lot of people, they put themselves first. They're not thinking of, am I the best man for the job? Can I bring about improvements in the lives of people or not? So there's the few that's not their consideration. So a lot of people, it's more about vanity. They want everybody to know their names. They want to see their posters everywhere, etc. So I'm a very private person. So
very interesting.
Yeah. So politics for me would be the opposite to what I want to do, really.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Because I guess politics has to do with also personality.
Mm,
If you're an exposed person,
yeah,
then it really fits you. But if you're kind of close, then it's not really
yeah, it's
for
not
you.
really for you.
Yes, I
Exactly.
understand. Okay, then next, what is the important lesson you learned from your father that has helped you in life in general?
The important lesson, which, in the beginning, it took a long time for me to learn
Yeah,
and to accept, is, having personal integrity,
yeah,
So when you are in Nigeria, when you especially come back from England, where people have more, what do you call it, honor, and then you come back to Nigeria and it's more cutthroat in business. So it's a real struggle in the beginning to always be honest with people you're doing business, and tell them the truth, even though if you think it's going to cost you, that opportunity, etc. So
yeah,
what I learned from my father that it's always best that you're humble and you
yeah,
don't go over what you can do or cannot do. Because once you enter agreement with somebody, you must deliver.
true.
So here it's easy for people to go and say, I can do A, B, C, D just to get the agreement, knowing that if they say they can't do D, then they might not get the agreement with the partner. So that was really hard for me to understand in the beginning, but in the end, I realized that that's the only way it can work.
Yes, you talked about integrity. I think that's one of the most undervalued, attribute a person can have, especially in business, because you
Mm,
talked about it's all about delivering the promise
mm,
and also satisfying your customers.
mm,
Because some of the business out there they like to reduce quality to
mm.
make more money, but they forget it in the long run. If they put up the integrity, it will go a long way, which
Yeah.
is it is a very important lesson I think everyone should
Yeah,
include.
exactly. So when you are starting a business, it's important to consider branding the business.
Yeah,
So, for example, here we have a car paint shop. So our branding is we want to be the best car paint shop in Kano. So that means that we cannot accept jobs from people that want to do a job that is not the best. For example, you have a lot of car dealers that are
yeah,
looking for a paint job that will look good for 1 or 2 months because by then they have sold the car. So they're not interested in doing a job that will last a year or two. So it was difficult to be rejecting those business at first, but building our name and our branding so that everybody knows that when they come here to paint their car, you're going to get a good job. I think it's more important. So we're going to lose money in the short run, but I think in the long run, the name, reputation, and the brand that you create is what's going to help your business to survive.
yes, absolutely. Because you pointed out about long-term thinking
Yeah,
rather than short-term gratification,
yeah,
which is also
yeah,
very important.
exactly. So we see we encounter this a lot, especially when you're going to partner with somebody to do business. A lot of people are looking to make money tomorrow.
Yep.
But that's not possible in business, in legitimate business anyway. When you open a business, you're not going to open business today and start making money tomorrow. You have to first suffer with the business, and in a year or two, if you are lucky, you can now start making money. So, if you study business in uni, they'll tell you the reason why a lot of business fail in their first year is lack of capital.
Yeah.
So a lot of people they
Yes.
have enough capital to open the business, but they don't calculate that they will need enough working capital to sustain that business for at least a year because they are not going to be making profit in the
Okay.
first year.
In the first
They are
year.
going to be losing money. So you have to make adequate allowance for that so that you don't close your business prematurely. You can survive a year. You have the money for that as well.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, now talking about capital, how would you advise young entrepreneurs to source out capital for their business?
Yeah. So like another business we do is we bring in private investors, foreign investors that want to invest in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So the problem we get to a lot of people in Nigeria is they don't understand how to develop a business, especially if you're going to bring in money from banks or from investors. You have to develop the business. What do I mean by developing the business? You have to
Okay.
have your feasibility study, environmental impact assessment, financial modeling, sign the agreements that you can in order to get funding and investment. So all those things requires a year or 2 years. So a lot of investors in Nigeria, you go to them, okay, we're in the pre-development phase of this project. They
Yep.
don't understand that. They only understand, okay, we have developed everything, we're ready to build this thing, and then we need money to build it. But it takes a year or two to get to that point.
Yeah, that's true. So, but in your business career, what do you find most rewarding?
I think succeeding, especially being able to deliver and build something. Okay. So let's say we were bringing investors to invest in some infrastructure projects in Nigeria. So I'm more happy when I see that project come to realization, because that's the first step. Usually it takes 2 years just to get to the construction phase, and then to get it. So you're going to encounter a lot of problems from everywhere. Every step, you need a lot of you need to permit licenses, etc. So everywhere you go, people are not really quick to move and get everything done quickly. So yeah. So getting past all those stages and actually delivering on the project, I think is very satisfying.
Satisfying. So you talk about for you, it's very satisfying. So what project or venture have you done that you feel you're very proud of?
Yeah, so we do a lot of investment in power, especially solar.
Solar, yeah.
So we had a lot of projects where we sweated and suffered a lot to realize, and then it didn't happen. But at the same time, eventually, we have projects now that we are starting to construct and it's starting to come online. So, for many years, you'll not hear anybody building new generation capacity in the Nigerian power sector because of policies of government did not allow for that investment to come through. But, now with deregulation and the policies that this government have taken, even though they're very painful to Nigerians at the moment, this is what's going to allow investment to start coming into Nigeria. So now we can have people that will invest in power, that will invest in infrastructure, especially transportation systems like rail, podways, etc.
Yeah, etc. Because I think that are the basic, necessities we even need in this country. You talk about transportation, energy, and much more. And talking about politics, what's your take on Nigerian politics, especially in Kano?
Well, my degree is economics.
Yeah.
So as an economist, I understand why the current president has to take the policies and the decisions that he did. These are things that we should have done 30, 40 years ago. But for a lot of Nigerians, they don't understand. Because when you remove things like subsidy for fuel or subsidy for naira, it makes the cost of living way more expensive. But we're in that scenario anyway. Because if you look, even without the removal of subsidy, the price of fuel was still going up. The price of dollar was still going up. So I think as long as this is the last, huge devaluation that we get to the naira or huge increase in the price of fuel, we can now have the right economic indicators to maintain things. I think in a year or two, I think things will recover. Nigeria will be in place, start growing at 10+% GDP per year.
Yeah, exactly.
But we have to get through this next 2 years. I always liken it to when you're in a boxing match and you have to receive a punch, and then you don't want to get punched in the face. So instead of being punched in the face, you opt to be punched in the stomach every 2 years. So what do I mean by that? The naira we always try to fix the price of naira. But then after 2 years, we realize we don't have the capacity or the money to keep that naira or dollar at that level. Then we devalue it. We went from 160 to 200 to 360 to 560. These are all government attempts to control the price of dollar. So now that we have removed subsidy from the dollar, even though I think the government kind of mismanaged it by allowing it to fall so low, I was expecting if they have removed it and the price of dollar was not more than 1,000 naira, we will not be in the problems that we are in now. For example, subsidy will have been gone completely from fuel, and revenue that government receiving will have tripled, and price of food will now have tripled. It will have instead double, which is still very bad, but it's a lot less bad than it tripling. So yeah, so apart from that mistake, which we have to live with, so I think if we can get through this next 1 or 2 years,
So
yeah,
very
Nigeria
good.
stands a good chance to become one of the fastest growing economies in the world.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so. Because you're talking about economics. Actually, I also study economics.
Yeah,
So I really understand what you're talking about, especially in terms of the supply and demand
yeah,
aspect. Because you look at our nation, everything comes down to how much supply or how much demand, even with the dollar inflation rate.
yeah,
Because recently I learned that the supply of dollar is very low because which
mm,
comes from the NNPC to the government, which affects the CBN from controlling the inflation rate.
yeah,
So at the end of the day, it all comes down to economics of the country and
yeah.
individuals as well. So that brought me to people who do business.
Mm.
So for someone who is just into business or who wants to start business, how would you advise the person to go about his business? What aspect will you tell, like a step-by-step guide, such as what books should he read or who should he be with to understand how to do business?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to have a mentor. Somebody who can tell you what to do and what not to do, and when you do something wrong, is there to correct you. Especially in Nigeria, because the business environment here is not what you read in school or textbooks. It's completely different, very cutthroat. So you need somebody that has had experience of that to help guide you. So apart from that, is also, a lot of people, they say, okay, look, I want to do business, but I don't have an idea what business to do. And then they will procrastinate for years and years trying to wait for an idea. But that's not how ideas work from my experience. Sometimes once you just go and start something, you're going out every day, hustling, meeting new people, transacting with them. That's when you meet somebody that will now present an opportunity to you. And now it's your job to seize that opportunity. So a lot of
Right,
people that you see
right.
that started from nothing. We have a lot of examples of that even here in Kano. They started from nothing and now they're multi-billionaires. So I think Nigeria gives you that opportunity, but you have to be out, hustling for it. And then you have to seize your opportunity when it comes.
Oh, you're right. Because I also learned that, if, for example, you have an idea in abroad, it's way harder to bring up something new because there's a lot of inventions. But
Yeah.
here in our environment, there's a lot of opportunities,
Mm,
in Kano, in a lot of even states, not just Kano, because also the population is a big advantage for people
yeah.
to give them something, Like we all talk about is if there is, like you said, if there's demand, you provide the supply, everything
Yeah.
will be good. So,
Exactly.
lastly, what advice will you give anyone, not just in business, to carry on in his life that will really be helpful in just self-development, not just about business, especially who are civil servants or in other industries that you notice based on you working with a lot of people and your years of
Mm.
experience.
Yeah, like I said, it goes back to why I said I learned the most from my father: integrity.
Okay,
You know,
yes.
the reason why we're poor is lack of integrity and corruption. If we don't have corruption in Nigeria today, Nigeria would not be a poor
Oh,
country.
yeah. Yes,
So
yes.
look at everything that is happening with government. You bring foreign investors that are willing to invest,
Mhm.
a lot of money into Nigeria, and corruption will stop you from realizing that project. So especially when you deal with European, American investors, there's no scope for them to be corrupt, to pay bribes, etc., to get things moving. So I think that's the issue. So a lot of civil servants need to start making, at least, let's start with, okay, this money is for religion, for school, for hospital, so we cannot steal from this money. you
Yeah.
know let's start not stealing from those, have that base level integrity, and then take it from there.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
Mm.
I think that's the end of my question, but I don't know if you really have something to add on to so that people can hear. You can really share with us.
Yeah, like Nigerians are going through a very difficult time at the
Yeah.
moment, but this correction is 30 years overdue.
Yeah.
You said you study economics. One basic principle of economics is subsidizing consumption is a very, very bad economic policy.
Yeah.
And I think President Tinubu is very brave to actually remove this thing, even though they mismanaged it a bit. But no president before him has even dared to take these correct steps because they know the
impact you
the
have.
clapback that they will have. So,
right.
we're going through a lot. People don't have enough money to eat, So I think if you survive the next 1 year, you have a much better business environment and more opportunities to move Nigeria forward and develop your business.
Yeah, thank you, sir. May God bless Nigeria.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's talk about the Kano economy. What's your take in the Kano economy in terms of how the government policies is affecting the economy and much more?
Okay, I'd like to answer that question by giving you a little bit of history, history in Kano. A lot of people forget that for over 100 years, that Kano was the most prosperous state in the entire West Africa, not even just Nigeria. What brought about those? We had investment in dams, etc., and the construction of the railway that allowed us to produce a lot of groundnuts, which are now exported all over the world. I think in terms of groundnut export, Nigeria was #1 in the entire world. So eventually when we discovered petrol, we allowed this infrastructure and dams and everything to fall into disrepair. So I think if we follow a similar path where let's look to exports, you have fruits, you have other food items that you can export by air, using the airport we have here. We already produce a lot of food, etc. So if we now repair the dams, do more irrigation projects, and start exporting a lot more stuff from Kano, I think that can provide a base for the resuscitation of Kano economy and start to bring us back, from this extreme level of poverty that we find ourselves in. So, for example, now if you go to our villages, you encounter there's very little economic activities in the villages and a lot of poverty. So, if we now start exporting a lot of things like fruits, teach them how to use greenhouse technology, etc., that will now improve and provide every local government and village a way to add value and export and earn money in dollars. This will be a huge help to Kano economy. And I think if we follow this path, we can reduce poverty a lot in Kano.
Okay, talking about reducing poverty, let's talk about the business sector. What business sector do you think more people in Kano should go into in order to help the economy? As you see, if you go to Sabongari, usually they're more into trading, which is buy something and just resell it, which I believe it's kind of not the just future for Kano. We have to bring on more type of businesses.
Yeah, like you mentioned the trading, but at the same time, Kano makes a lot of money from trading, and a lot of people are employed and eating food from trading. So, but you also have a lot of other sectors. Now, if you look at the price of land in Kano, it's almost the same as in Abuja. You can now develop properties. You can do partnership where you have land, somebody will come and build it, and you can do a split based on the investment they have, and you make a lot of profit from it. Obviously, like we try manufacturing, but we don't have infrastructure for that, and there's a lot of problems with diesel, lack of power, lack of security. So I think like maybe we can look into online jobs, etc. There's a lot of things that our youth can do online. You can be a secretary to people. You can, there's a lot of things you can do, and then you now earn money in dollars. So I think a lot of people can gain employment if they learn all these online jobs, etc., and then start utilizing it in Kano.
Yeah, I think that's true. Talking about people learning things, let's talk about skill sets, right? Because we understand kind of people are more of them that are people are just understanding how to do trading. But what about skill set do you think the upcoming ones, people who are just starting to learn in order to help the economy?
Yeah. So I think the skill set of upcoming people need to have is, we have to look at the world and see what are going to be the biggest sectors or in the economy in 10, 20 years from now. So you look at things like AI, artificial intelligence, and a lot of things computing. And another thing that a lot of people, don't take a lot attach a lot of importance into is, for example, game development.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money in that. If you look at in the Android and sorry, excuse me, iOS.
Yeah.
You look at let's take that game Candy Crush.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that game is generating $6 million a day, and it has been generating this money for the last 15 years. So you can design a simple game, and if it's unique and you put it on the game store or Play Store, you can actually make a lot of money from that. And then you can now use that money to invest in other things. So now there's tools that will allow our youth, etc., to be able to design these games without a lot of, education. So a lot of this is talent, how creative you are. So if we can take advantage of all these creative industries, I think we can now, expand our economy and bring in new source of revenue.
As you talk about technology, which is having more developers, people on learning skills on technology.
Yeah.
Because I think I also had this problem when I was starting my company, a food delivery application.
Yeah.
Because we built it, and the problem was finding developers, good ones in Kano.
Yeah.
Because I realized all the good ones really leave Kano, go to Lagos, Abuja, because they are not kind of needed in this.
Yeah.
In North Nigeria.
Yeah.
So I believe that I think that has to do with also what do you think about the companies? If companies should be straightened in Kano instead of everyone going to Abuja and Lagos.
Yeah, but even if you look at Abuja and Lagos, a lot of our youth are still Japan, as they said.
Yeah.
So the advantage of technology and development is, you should look for the best and cheapest way that will allow you to deliver your app or your product. So once you now start making money, then where you are, your geographical location matters. So if you want to develop an app, you can't say, "Oh, I have to find developers in Kano." You're not going to be able to get the best here for now. So if you develop the app and start your food delivery here in Kano, you're going to add value to people in Kano, and you're going to increase more trades and provide more job opportunities for people running shops, etc., and supermarkets. So that's how you have to think of it.
Think of it like long-term plan, but you can find your workers in Abuja, but at least build the business here and provide exactly. Since you have the customer base.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter where you get the engineering and the skills to set up your business, as long as the business is here. So let's say you have an app for delivery, like in Abuja we have apps like Mano. If I want to buy something from a supermarket, I go to the app, pick all the stuff I want, and they bring it to my house. Here in Kano, I don't have that opportunity. I have to get somebody, give him money, and then send him to the supermarket to buy my groceries for me and hope he doesn't cheat me along the way. So if I have an app that I can use to order all the groceries I want and then bring it to the house, I think that's a huge improvement for everybody.
That's right, because everything is all about giving convenience to the customer.
Yeah, exactly. So if you add value, providing convenience, a lot of people can't just get up and go to, inside the market. Let's say now you say you want to go Savangari, so it's going to be very complicated for somebody that's not used to those things. For example, me, to do. So if I can have an app where I can look for all the products I want in Savangari or in GSM market or supermarket, and they'll bring it to my office or my house. That'll allow me to be buying more stuff here in Kano.
In Kano, that's absolutely right. But recently there's a strike that's going to take place in Kano. I think not just in Kano, I think it's in Nigeria as well. Protests. So what's your take on that?
I think obviously, I think, the people who right to protest should be protected. But the problem we have is usually you have miscreants that want to take advantage of this to sow confusion and just generally rob people or attack people's houses. So we have to be very careful with those things. So these protests, what do they hope to achieve with it? I think they have already sent a message to the government loud and clear that people are hungry. The government has to do something. So going the extra step and actually going out on the street, I think that would be counterproductive. But that being said, we pray to God, Allah, that when people do go out in the street to protest, that we don't have any incidents of violence or loss of life.
Yes, you're right, because whatever, it should be like a safe protest. Like you mentioned, people have the right to protest. The people are hungry, and they've preached, they've talked, but since nothing has changed, so it's time to take an action to see if the government can also, keep things better.
Yeah. So I think like the government knows that people are hungry. I think people have made it very clear to them, and they're in full panic about what's going to happen on Thursday, as they should be, So I think now that we're at the precipice, maybe we should withdraw from it. We have sent our message to the government. Government have received this message. Whether they're going to act on it or not, that remains to be seen. But if we now go out to protest and decide to burn down our houses, our businesses, etc., that will only make things worse for us. It will not improve the economic situation of people.
Yeah, yes, it gets worse actually in that situation. Okay. Lastly, do you have anything you want to add to the people out there who are going to listen to this podcast?
Yeah, like I said, government are taking some top policies, and some of it they did not implement it very well. But these are things that we needed to do 30 years ago. So now that I've done it, we're going to experience pain for another year. But if we are still alive and our business is still open in the year from now, I believe that you have the conducive environment and the opportunity for huge economic growth in Nigeria.
Yes, we hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.